Before I start the video, as a quick reminder, check out my links down below to help support the channel. I am now in partnership with Baron of Dice. They have some awesome TCG accessories like playmats, deck boxes, and dice. And if you want to level up your setup, it is the perfect way to do so. And if you want to support the channel directly and get some sweet perks, consider joining the Patreon. If you want to get early access to videos or even some deck help, Patreon is where it's at. And so without further ado, let's get back into the video. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin with Jurassic Magic, and with Avatar coming to Magic the Gathering, there's a lot of commanders that have come out that have excited me to kind of build around, but one that sticks out to me is Iroh Grand Lotus, I believe. I'm trying to remember the name. But this one excites me for a lot of different reasons. I love Teamer as a color combination, and this works well with a very niche strategy with focusing on lessons. And overall, I gotta say lessons are not very powerful, but can be very powerful. There's been a lot of cool lessons within this set that are going to be utilized in here. And so in today's video, we're going to be breaking down Iroh and how to build around him. And so let's get us started. So first, let's begin by talking about the commander. Iroh Grand Lotus, 3 green, blue, and a red legendary creature, human noble ally with firebending 2. During your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost. And during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. So this is basically a Past in Flames commander, along with having additional value if you play a lot of lessons. Of course, he has a lot of wisdom to give to Zuko within the show, and honestly, he's one of the most heartwarming characters within there. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing 3 things. I'm going to first focus on lesson cards because this is basically just a lesson commander. I'm also going to focus on synergy with Iroh, mainly focusing on casting stuff from the graveyard. And finally, I'll go over some win cons. So typically in my videos, I first start off with the staples of the deck. However, a lot of lessons just have card draw, ramp, and other means. So I feel like having those count as the staples kind of fit in very well. Within the set, we have ramp like Cycle of Renewal, sacrificing a land and searching for your library for 2 basic land cards and putting them onto the battlefield. This is basically like a Harrow on a lesson. There is also a new rampant growth effect with shared roots. This is actually going to be a staple probably for a long time. It's just rampant growth with a lesson on top of it. Search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. And what's nice about our ability with our commander is the fact that we could cast this, and for 1 mana from the graveyard, if it's on our turn, we could just cast it again, ramp a little bit further, and that applies for all these spells too. You basically get a second use out of them for 1 mana. Though technically not ramp, we do have Uncle Iroh. Lesson spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Since this is a lesson deck, hey, why not include this one too? There are some card draw that you could also take advantage of too, like Waterbending Lesson. This says draw 3 cards, then discard a card unless you waterbend 2. This is okay. I mean, again, you're going to get the value out of it when you put it in the graveyard. You could just pay 1 for it. The same applies for Abandoned Attachments. You may discard a card if you do draw 2 cards. This could be useful. Again, just constantly getting that ability of reducing the mana cost to only 1 mana with Uncle Iroh is going to give this further advantage. And you don't have to just rely only on Avatar The Last Airbender lessons. You could also utilize some other lessons. One I personally like is Teachings of the Archaics. For 3 mana, if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2 cards. Draw 3 cards instead if an opponent at least has 4 more cards in hand than you. So this potentially, if you squint at it hard enough, could be basically an Ancestral Recall if it's in the graveyard, because it'll cast 1 mana. And if potentially somebody has 4 more cards in your hand than you, this basically becomes it. Another interesting route is Illuminate History. I think this one actually works better than Teachings of the Archaic, mainly because you discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. You could discard some lessons, so they could cast them for 1 from the graveyard. And if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you also make a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token too. So this is giving you multiple levels of value, basically putting lessons to your graveyard, getting some more cards in your hand, and so on and so forth. There is also some interaction like it'll quench ya, a counter spell. I mean, of course, the opponent will have to pay 2 mana, but again, you could use this if somebody's trying to remove one of your creatures and it's in the graveyard. You could bounce another creature by utilizing Boomerang Basics, return non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control that permanent, draw a card, so this could be useful in some situations if you want to return a creature to your hand. But you honestly kind of get the point. A lot of these lessons are going to give you additional value. I'm not going to run every single individual lesson. It's going to be probably pretty janky if you do. I do have a lot of other cards, instant and sorceries, that you could also flashback to. You don't want to just rely only on lessons, even though that 1 cost for it sounds really good. In the deck list, I do have a lot of normal spells that you put in the deck and also a lot of lessons. I put the best ones I thought that would work. I didn't put every individual lesson in the deck, so definitely go check it out for yourself. But I do want to move on to the next subject and talk about some of the best synergy pieces you could have with Uncle Iroh, whether you're casting stuff from not from your hand or cards that focus on lessons. Because you're casting cards from the graveyard, you can gain additional benefits. One example would be Flaming Tyrannosaurus. I love this card so much because of course it's a Tyrannosaurus that is on fire, and not only that, it does synergize with our commander when we're casting stuff from our graveyard. We can lightning bolt something, buff it up. If it so happens to die, we could just blast a lot of people for a ton of damage. I love this card and utilize it in a lot of different decks. Another example of this would be Keeper of Secrets. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, so our graveyard, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. This actually works quite well with our commander's ability. If we cast a lesson, instead of paying that 5 mana it would just be 1 mana. However, it would keep the mana value of 5, so Keeper of Secrets will deal 5 damage to a target opponent, but it all costs 1 mana, so again, that is pretty well done. Another card that fits well into this type of deck is Spider-Verse, not for the first part because we're not really playing any spiders, but for that second part. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste. Do this only once each turn. So this is great whether we're casting things for flashback or casting lesson spells for 1 mana. We're just copying those with the Spider-Verse. There are some cards that will reduce the cost of certain spells in the graveyard, like Sage of Beyond, Savvy Trader, or even Doc Arlock Grizzled Genius. Each of these will reduce the spells we cast from our graveyard, and especially with lesson cards, they will be basically free. You could just cast them for free and kind of storm off. So we could really benefit with a lot of cards in our graveyard. Of course, we could also benefit from lessons in our graveyard too. For example, there is the Lion Turtle. For 1 green and a blue, it has Vigilance and Reach, and when it enters, you gain 3 life. It can't attack or block unless there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard, which most likely will have a ton of lessons unless we cast a lot of them. And it could tap for a mana, so this could help pay for the lessons. And if we have enough lessons, we could just swing with it and stay behind and block. I also like the idea of using Ran and Shot. Even though this is technically not a dragon deck, this is a lesson deck. If there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard, and if you cast this and it enters, you make a token copy of it, except it's not a legendary. Of course, I just kind of paraphrased it, but it has flying and firebending too, and it has an activated ability. Dragons you control get +2/+0 until the turn. There is a couple of dragons that will utilize this buff up, but of course, if we have both Ran and Shot and they both attack, we'll float 4 mana in the air off of the firebending ability, and we could just activate that ability instantly, swinging in for a total of 12 damage. And there are some other cards that pair nicely with lessons. We do want to discard cards and draw cards, so you may want to include some Faithless Looting type of effects, or even some mulch effects too. I do have a lot of them in the deck list. I necessarily feel like adding them into this video because I feel like it would be kind of repetitive, because of course you want to have a lot of lessons in your graveyard. But now I wanted to move over into the win cons. Of course, there's going to be plenty of win cons. I like the idea of using cards that benefit off of casting instant and sorcery spells. There are some options like Kessick Flame Breather or even Firebrand Archer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. The more lessons you're casting and casting from your graveyard, the more of these are going to trigger. The same can be applied for Urabrask. This one actually synergizes very well with the deck, because if we so happen to flip this, we get a redundant effect of casting instant and sorcery spells from our graveyard, just in case if Iroh is not on the battlefield. But really, if anything else, it'll help us get mana the more we cast instant and sorcery spells. And of course, this will be kind of like a chain reaction. Let's just say we have like 4 or 5 lesson spells in our graveyard. We cast one, we float a red mana, deal 1 damage, cast another one because they only cost 1 with our commander, then just cast all those 1 by 1. So this pairs perfectly with our commander, just getting us mana and pinging our opponents. I did save the best for last, and that would be Caldera Pyramod. This one is beautiful in this deck. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then this creature deals damage equal to its power to a target opponent. So this will just blast people in the face every time you're casting those lesson spells, whether you cast them from your hand or even from the graveyard. Every individual trigger will put a 1/1 counter on this and scale infinitely, pinging everybody to death with huge amount of damage. So overall, just to kind of give you my thoughts, because I'm now wrapping up the video, I do like the idea of Iroh being a lesson commander. I feel like it kind of fits that niche, and of course we're probably going to get a lot of other cards from the new Strixhaven set coming next year sometime, so this will definitely be upgraded at that time. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. What are your thoughts about Iroh? Is he everything you wanted? I do like how he is in Temur color combination. Of course, he is mainly a firebender, so that's why he uses the firebending too, but of course he has utilized some other techniques to help his firebending, like earthbending and waterbending. So there's a lot of flavor here that I do like. Again, let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts? Also, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And with that out of the way, thank you for stomping by.